easy business or walk in the park to run a social media company that's been fledgling in terms of active users, in terms of monetizing their products, and in terms of pure innovation. So those are challenges up ahead for Elon Musk. And to his credit, he also admits in his note yesterday, which was put out on Twitter, and I think a lot of interesting retweets on that as well. But he also mentions that he might fail with full humility and sincerity. But if he does, at least he tried.
All right. Elon Musk has a huge challenge right ahead of him, Ayush. In fact, there were naysayers who said that he paid or overpaid. 44 billion was a little too much to buy Twitter. But now, like you said, his plan is to monetize it and yet, for the love of humanity, ensure that this is a platform, a safe space for people to speak their mind. Thank you, Ayush, for joining us. Now, after buying Twitter in a hostile takeover, the world's richest man teased followers about his next target, Coca-Cola. And if that wasn't enough to leave people in a frenzy online, he's added that he'll buy the cold drink major to put the cocaine back in. Here's what he meant.
Next, I'm buying Coca-Cola to put the cocaine back in. Trump's Truth Social should be called Trumpet. Cocaine, ice cream, Trump, and tweeting fun on a whim and whipping it up on Twitter. Elon Musk, who just pocketed the social media giant for a cool $44 billion, is on a viral roll. The world's richest man seems to have ample time for some Twitter banter, joking that he's up for buying another global brand, Coca-Cola, to put cocaine back into it, obviously firmly tongue-in-cheek, referring to Coke's original recipe at launch more than a century ago. He may be joking, but with Musk, you can never be sure. Remember, in 2017, he had jokingly asked how much it would cost him to buy out Twitter. 4 years later, we've just seen what happened. Despite all the talk of Donald Trump's return to Twitter under Elon Musk, the world's wealthiest man hasn't stopped having some fun at the expense of the former US president. Musk tweeted saying that Trump's fledgling networking site, Truth Social, has a terrible name and should be called Trumpet instead. The SpaceX CEO had recently also launched at fellow billionaire Bill Gates, taking a deeply personal jibe at his potbelly. Musk has also been harsh on Twitter or its perceived left-leaning management, accusing them of censoring free speech and having extreme antibody reactions towards the right to express oneself. According to his pact with Twitter, Musk cannot tweet anything disparaging against the platform itself. So the eccentric tweets have sparked speculation that Musk may have developed cold feet about actually buying Twitter. Since Tesla's stock prices have been falling over the deal involving megabucks, China too could put a spanner in the works, since Musk's absolutely free speech push may not gel well with the authoritarian Beijing. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, now the world's largest social media and microblogging platform, Twitter, has a new owner, Elon Musk, $44 billion mega deal. Musk is now one of Twitter's most followed users with over 83 million followers himself. In fact, he now calls himself the chief tweet.
For a man valued at around $260 billion or 20 lakh crore rupees, $44 billion is not exactly pocket change. But that was Elon Musk's attitude all along. He did not want Twitter for its economic prowess. He wanted it for its role as a town square where all sort of views could be expressed. And that, according to him, was not happening. Musk started accumulating Twitter stock late January when the share price was around $37. By the time he disclosed his stake to the US capital markets regular in early April, he was the largest stakeholder in Twitter with a 9.2% share. 10 days later, Musk announced a hostile $43.4 billion takeover bid for Twitter. Now, after threatening a dose of poison pills and other ways to thwart the billionaire from swallowing it, the Twitter board capitulated on Monday, agreeing to Musk's offer of $54.2 a share, valuing the company at around $44 billion. The deal is being financed by a mix of loan and Musk's own money. Twitter share, which was languishing at $37 in January, shot up from $39 to $50 overnight when Musk disclosed his 9% stake earlier this month. Since then, the stock has inched up towards the offer price, closing at nearly $52 on Monday, still much below the $70 levels it was trading at last summer.
The question is can he really juggle three businesses, right? You got SpaceX, you have Tesla, now maybe you have Twitter. And if he's great at delegation, much like Warren Buffett is with many of the businesses that he owns, then maybe it can be a success. I think his vision of where he thinks Twitter can go, I think it really can have a profound effect on the business alone. So I'm actually pretty bullish on the idea of Elon Musk stepping in.
Bureau Report, India Today.
Now, Elon Musk, the man, is known for his extrinsic behavior, astounding wealth, and eclectic decisions. But beyond that, Musk is the millionaire. Elon Musk is really the man. Who is he? What is he all about? Let's take a quick look.
He is a billionaire. He is one of the world's richest men who sells clean energy, green cars, and travels to space. His endeavors are futuristic and driven by science. A Stanford PhD dropout, Elon Musk has been an entrepreneur from the very beginning. His first startup was co-founded with his brother Kimball Musk. The brothers parted ways after their software company Zip2 was acquired by Compaq for $307 million in 1999. While the elder of the Musk brothers stuck to computers and softwares, Kimball Musk today is an entrepreneur focused on trying to change America's food culture.
Mostly it just doesn't taste very good.
They come from a different lineage. Their maternal grandfather, Joshua Haldeman, was an adventurous American-born Canadian who took his family on a record-breaking journey in a single-engine Belanca aeroplane from Africa to Australia. Elon Musk's father, Rahul Musk, is a South African electromechanical engineer, pilot, sailor, consultant, and property developer who was once a half-owner of a Zambian emerald mine near Lake Tanganyika. Elon Musk's parents divorced when he was 10. His mother, May, has 2 Masters of Science degrees. Practiced as a dietitian and worked on the side as a model to pay bills as a single mother. His first cousins, Lyndon and Peter Rive, are the founders of solar energy service company Solar City. But Elon Musk is the most famous of the clan. Thanks to his mad scientist way and the peakless buzz surrounding the company, he's dreamed up from PayPal to electric car maker Tesla Motors to aerospace manufacturer SpaceX. Today, he's richer than Jeff Bezos and more unpredictable than the weather. In December 2021, he declared on Twitter that he wanted to quit. A month later, he started to buy shares of Twitter almost on daily batches. In July 2021, a bare feet Elon Musk was seen visiting another billionaire, Richard Branson, at 3 a.m. on the morning of the Virgin boss's space escapade. The photo that Branson tweeted showed Musk bare feet. The reason for being without shoes remains unknown. He is a voracious speaker, and in one of his talks in May 2021, he revealed having Asperger's syndrome.
All right, Elon Musk has still not been able to capture the Indian market, but Twitter could be a big game changer for that. Twitter has about 24 million active users from India. However, social media giant and the Indian government have always locked horns several times over free speech issue. Let's take a look.
It has been an impossible market for Elon Musk to crack. All the efforts of the world's richest man have been in vain till now. Twitter, however, turns the tide for him. With nearly 24 million active users, India is an important market for the social media giant and gives Indians their first opportunity to use an Elon Musk product. But if Musk was thinking getting a foot through the door will help him open up new markets for Tesla and Starlink, the government has made it clear that it is not happening, especially with Tesla, which Musk has been trying hard to drive into India from its China manufacturing base.
If the Elon Musk is ready to manufacture a Tesla in India, there is no problem. We have got all competency, the vendors are available. We have got all type of technology, and because of that he can reduce the cost. But our request to him is that you come to India, start manufacturing here. India is a huge market. The export availability, everything, ports are available. They can make their export from India, and he is welcome. He is welcome in India. We don't have any problem. But suppose you want to manufacture in China and sell in India, it cannot be a good proposition for India. Our request to him is come to India and manufacture here.
The government's resolve to push Elon Musk to make in India has not weakened in the past few months.
इंडिया में हमारे जो वेंडर्स है वो पूरा टेस्ला को दे सकते हैं मटेरियल। अब थोड़ा सा एक मेरे मन की बात है जो मैंने टेस्ला को बार बार कही कि चाइना में बनाकर हिंदुस्तान में बेचने वाला काम मत करो। हिंदुस्तान में आओ, हमको मदद करते हैं, यहाँ हमारे वेंडर्स हैं, हमारे यहाँ बनाओ, हमारे यहाँ बेचो, हमारे यहाँ से एक्सपोर्ट करो। जो मदद चाहिए आपको हमारी सरकार करेगी।
Even Starlink has run into trouble with the Indian government. The Musk-owned company offers low-latency broadband internet service, failed to get a commercial license in India. Starlink had received 5,000 pre-orders, but was forced to refund them in the absence of the license. Meanwhile, India remains a big challenge for Twitter, with the platform getting in frequent trouble with the government over the free speech. Bureau Report, Business Today TV.
Now, Elon Musk is the man who wants to be seen as a flag bearer of free speech. After buying Twitter, everyone's just asking one question. Will Tesla CEO and now the owner of this social media giant, this platform, reinstate Donald Trump's handle? Here's a listen.
He was booted out of Twitter, the most high-profile leader to be removed, and ever since, Donald Trump has been ruthless in his criticism of the social media platform. Calling Twitter corrupt and his favorite jargon of fake news, Trump will be thrilled with Elon Musk taking over the social media company. The former US president was unceremoniously ousted from Twitter after the violence on Capitol Hill on January the 6th, 2021. 2 tweets of Trump's were seen as incendiary and insightful by Twitter, prompting the suspension of his Twitter account. Trump's Twitter journey has been eventful, to say the least. Let's go back in time to over a year ago when Trump was putting out a tweet literally every second. From calling the US presidential polls rigged to spreading endless fake news on COVID, Trump earned the manipulated media badge with almost every single tweet. And it all culminated with his account, followed by millions being suspended in January 2021. And now, with Elon Musk buying Twitter lock, stock and barrel, Republicans have one demand: bring back Trump. Several Republicans hailing Musk's takeover of the social media giant are now making a case for Donald Trump's comeback. So will Trump return to Twitter now? The former US president, for now, has ruled it out, saying he's focusing on his own social media platform, ironically called Truth, and promised to start truthing very soon. But with Trump, who really knows? If there's one thing we've all learned from Trump's Twitter account, it's that you can never quite rule out the unexpected from him. Bureau Report, India Today.
All right, for more on that, you could log on to indiatoday.in. You could also download our app for more. Stay tuned. I'm going to come back with the top headlines. India's Oscar entry film, Shallow Show, revolves around a young boy and his intense love for cinema. One of the boys who played a very crucial role in the film, Rahul Kohli, who essayed that role to real perfection, unfortunately has passed away. Rahul was fighting leukemia for the last few years but managed to beat the cancer complications all through the film's shoot. His father, who's an auto rickshaw driver, broke down while confirming the news. He said that Rahul was doing okay until the morning of October 2nd. He had fever and soon after eating his breakfast, he repeatedly vomited blood. He was rushed to the hospital but unfortunately was declared dead. Rahul Kohli comes from a humble family. He was very eager to watch this film released, Shallow Show. In fact, Rahul's father even sold his auto rickshaw to treat his son's cancer. But once the filmmakers of Shallow Show heard about this, they even bought him a new auto rickshaw. Rahul's parents say that he was keenly awaiting the release of the film and was very sure that the family's fortunes would change after the film's release. But alas, the crew of film Shallow Show, who was with Rahul all through the time he was at the hospital beating cancer, have broken down ever since. The movie is now India's official entry into the Oscars, representing the country in the Best International Film category. Rahul's family and his entire village are now going to be watching the film in a special screening, Shallow Show, all seated together as an ode to this young boy. We're only hoping that the film would win at the Oscars. That will be a true ode to Rahul Kohli. His dreams surely will live on.
Do people sort of judge you, you think, at times, always looking close?
Of course they judge you. But it's a part of my life. It's always been a part of my life. My identity is so intrinsically attached to the fact that I come from a privileged household. I can't divorce my identity from the fact that my parents have made a name for themselves that might always overshadow my name. I'm okay with that. My only thrill in life and aim in life is to make them proud and to hopefully keep doing films, because that's what I live for. My love for films overrides everything. So you can call me privileged, call me whatever you want, but I don't think anyone I've worked with can point a finger at me and say she's taken her position for granted. And that's something that I hope to maintain.
A very good afternoon. You're watching India Today. I'm Nabila Jamal. Let me take you through the top news, the headlines first. Kejriwal writes to Prime Minister Modi demanding Goddess Lakshmi and Ganesh to be put on currency notes in India alongside Mahatma Gandhi. Storm over DMK leader's derogatory remarks. Sexist Neta calls BJP actor turned Netas as items. Remains brazen, says that his remarks were misrepresented. After madrasas, now survey of Arabic schools in Karnataka. Now complaints of poor standard of education is what the education department claims, which is why they're conducting a survey on 200 Arabic schools in Karnataka. Politics over Atmanirbhar defense push. BJP Uddhav Sena fight over C-295 jet deal. Aditya Thackeray says BJP working for its own profit. BJP says the deal struck in the Aghadi era. A fresh LG Delhi government war begins. LG stops up anti-pollution drive. Kejriwal calls move as dirty politics. BJP says toxic Yamuna water is life-threatening. And Elon Musk officially takes over social media giant Twitter, terminates top executives including CEO Parag Agarwal and legal head Vijaya Gadde. All right, now External Affairs Minister S. Jai Shankar's big message on terrorism. In fact, he goes on to speak as says that conspirators of 26/11 still unpunished. External Affairs Minister S. Jai Shankar, as he took the stage to speak on countering terrorism, he says that 26/11 conspirators remain protected. They still are unarrested. UNSC unable to act due to political considerations. Must hold terrorists accountable. Here's S. Jai Shankar as he speaks to counter terrorism and the UNSC anti-terror meet that's scheduled in India, while S. Jai Shankar, External Affairs Minister, takes to the stage and speaks on how 26/11 conspirators are still unpunished and that they remain protected. UNSC unable to act due to political considerations, must hold terrorists accountable. These are words of the External Affairs Minister. Let's take a listen.
The key conspirators and planners of the 26/11 attacks continue to remain protected and unpunished. When it comes to proscribing some of these terrorists, the Security Council has regrettably been unable to act in some cases because of political considerations. This undermines our collective credibility and our collective interests. The coming together of the UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee to this venue is both special and significant. I thank all members of the Security Council and other member states who have joined us today in an expression of solidarity. Together, we should send out the message that the international community will never give up on holding terrorists accountable and delivering justice. 26/11 will never, ever be forgotten.
All right, let me quickly cut across to defense expert Sushant Sareen joining us. Sushant, we heard what External Affairs Minister S. Jai Shankar had to say, speaking extensively on how 26/11 will never be forgotten. He says those perpetrators, conspirators are yet unpunished. They're being protected and the UNSC is finding it hard to pull them to account due to political compulsions. What's your take on that?
Well, I think he pressed all the right buttons and he spoke what you might call the brutal truth. The fact remains that everybody, pays homilies to fighting terrorism. But when it actually comes to taking action, then you have countries like China which stand with the terrorists, which actually provide covering fire to the terrorists, which provides cover to them, which prevents any kind of even procedural action against them. And then, of course, you have countries like Pakistan, which actively sponsor and support terrorists. And the rest of the world doesn't really bother too much about terrorism as long as it does not affect them. Unfortunately, what has started happening is that terrorism is now something which happens to you, but then it's terrorism. But if it happens to somebody else, it's not terrorism. We've seen that attitude in the West. We've seen how, separatist movements like the Khalistanis are winged at, nudged, ignored by some of these Western countries, and in some cases also encouraged. And we know how violent this movement has been in the past. We know how much blood has been shed in the past by these guys. But you talk to these supercilious people in the West, and they will pretend that they are protecting civil liberties and freedom of speech. And all this, it certainly prevents the war on terror from going to the logical conclusion. So you have that problem of people saying something but not actually following it up in their actions. And I suppose this is what the External Affairs Minister has been alluding to today. But I think it is entirely, within India's responsibility to keep agitating this matter, to not forget this matter, and in fact to bring in some of the other egregious acts of terrorism that have been committed in the past in India. You had similar casualties in India in the various train bombings that have taken place, again with very clear Pakistani fingerprints. You have the perpetrators of the Mumbai bomb attacks in '93 still living in comfort and in luxury in Pakistan. So you have these various instances. While we should keep agitating the 2611 cases, I don't think we should forget some of the other horrific acts of terrorism which have come from across the border into India. And also not forget some of the smaller incidents of terrorism, but given the sheer quantum of them, for example, in Jammu and Kashmir, where thousands of people have been killed by Pakistani terrorists, I think all of those should continuously be agitated. We should continuously make a lot of noise about it. And we should not let these go, simply because, like the Supreme Court of India has said that something happened 30 years back, so what if it was a genocide? We can't reopen those cases. We should reopen all cases of this kind of murder and terrorist attack.
Right. Mr. Sareen, thank you very much for joining us on that. Let me quickly cut across to Gaurav Sawant as well, joining us live from the newsroom. Gaurav, we see External Affairs Minister Jai Shankar as he remembers 2611, saying that incident will never be forgotten, and also speaks of how the international community must collectively hold these terrorists responsible. They must be brought to book. They must not be protected, and also somehow insinuated that the UNSC seems helpless in cracking down on these perpetrators. What really happened during 2611? 166 people were killed. Close to 10 terrorists were trained from Pakistan and sent to target multiple places in Mumbai. And that will never be forgotten, and yet they roam free?
So the 10 terrorists were killed, but the perpetrators roam free. You're absolutely right. Pakistan's involvement was known. Evidence was painstakingly gathered, not just by India, but also by Pakistan's Federal Investigation Agency that implicated terrorists like Hafiz Mohammed Saeed and others, including Sajid Mir. The pain of the External Affairs Minister, Dr. Jai Shankar, was that the United Nations Security Council hasn't been able to ensure that action is taken, or people like Sajid Mir face sanctions, because countries like China continue to play politics on a very sensitive issue. And this is the first time ever that the United Nations Security Council Committee on Counter-Terrorism is meeting at Mumbai at a victim, interacting with victims of 2611 Mumbai terror attacks. Incidentally, we had all covered 2611 on Ground Zero in Mumbai, exactly at this place where this committee meeting is happening right now. And 14 years down the line, despite the involvement of Pakistanis like David Coleman Headley, Tahavur Hussain Rana, who were Lashkar-e-Taiba sleeper cells in the United States and Canada, Hafiz Mohammed Saeed, members of Pakistan Army and ISI who trained these 10 terrorists at Thatta in Sindh, all of this evidence was painstakingly gathered. Pakistan has not punished the perpetrators of 2611 Mumbai terror attacks. Now, this audio of Sajid Mir. Now, Sajid Mir was one of the planners, plotters and financiers of 2611 Mumbai terror attacks. Evidence against him was gathered and given to Pakistan's FIA. Pakistan lied. First, they claimed that Sajid Mir was dead. Then they resurrected him. And yet no action is being taken against him. When India moved a proposal for sanctions, the 1267 Sanctions Committee of the United Nations for action against him, a country like China repeatedly blocks it. So the External Affairs Minister is pointing out that politics is becoming bigger than war on terror. And that is where UN Security Council is yet to succeed. 140 Indians, 20 foreigners from 23 countries were killed in this terror attack.
You know, as we hear External Affairs Minister speaking, he says how the UNSC seems quite helpless and they have some kind of political compulsions. Would you be able to elaborate for us, Gaurav, on who is really acting as a bloc here?
So China, unfortunately, is the bloc in this country. And, it's repeatedly pointed out that at the United Nations Security Council, so you have 5 permanent members and 10 members who join by rotation. each time that India's moved for sanctions against Pakistani terrorists involved in terror attacks in India, whether it's 26/11 or, as Sushant Sareen was rightly pointing out, multiple other terror instances in India, like that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, being involved in the attack, whether it's on the Indian Parliament or at Pathankot or at Pulwama. These terrorists of Jaish-e-Mohammed and Lashkar-e-Taiba, China has repeatedly blocked sanctions on these people, saying more evidence is sought, and each time a permanent representative of the UN, United Nations Security Council, permanent member puts a block, then that entire process is delayed by 6 months, and multiple times China has put a block on Masood Azhar, now on Sajid Mir, on others. And this is where UN reforms are desperately needed, because UN is now outdated and it's past its sell-by date in its current form and does not keep in mind the current realities of the world. And that's a point that India is repeatedly telling multiple countries in the world, that countries like China are blocking action on terror, especially terror that comes from Pakistan and is aimed at India.
You know, Gaurav, not just about 26/11, but further, there was a lot of discussion on terror that still prevails across the globe, in India including. And there was much focus on the new kinds of technologies that terrorists are adopting to unleash this terror, and with much precision. Tell us a little more on that deliberation there.
So the theme this time is the use of technology, the use of digital media, terror financing, and how do you stop terror financing. That is one of the principal key focus areas of this meeting, and this is where the world needs to come together. You know, the Financial Action Task Force, look how it blocked Chinese, how it took action against Pakistanis, put them on the grey list for a period of 4 years. But it's politics which becomes more important than the global war on terrorism, that Pakistan, despite taking no action against Hafiz Saeed or Masood Azhar or Dawood Ibrahim Kaskar, or India-centric terror, or terror that's actually killed more than 5,000 US servicemen and contractors in Afghanistan, Pakistan is out of the grey list without taking any action against the sources of terror. So this is where India is saying that the world needs to come together and ensure that digital terrorism or terrorism through the internet, cyber security, digital money transfer, all of that needs to be blocked and tracked to ensure that terrorists don't have access to funds.
You know, stay with us, Gaurav. I'm going to quickly cut across to S. Jai Shankar as he spoke at that UNSC anti-terror meet in Mumbai. It's a 2-day event. Let me cut across to exactly what he said, focusing on 26/11.
The key conspirators and planners of the 26/11 attacks continue to remain protected and unpunished. When it comes to proscribing some of these terrorists, the Security Council has regrettably been unable to act in some cases because of political considerations. This undermines our collective credibility and our collective interests. The coming together of the UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee to this venue is both special and significant. I thank all members of the Security Council and other member states who have joined us today in an expression of solidarity. Together, we should send out the message that the international community will never give up on holding terrorists accountable and delivering justice. 26/11 will never, ever be forgotten.
All right, Gaurav, if you're with us, as we hear External Affairs Minister speaking, his focus was entirely on 26/11 and the attacks that still haven't been forgotten. Even the wreath-laying ceremony was carried out today. So a little more on how this could be dealt with. Is there a way that we could bring those those grieving families who are still pained justice?
India gathered information about this terror attack painstakingly, bit by bit, including conversations that happened between these 10 terrorists who were in Mumbai and their handlers who were at a safe house in Karachi. Based on evidence that was gathered, that evidence was incidentally given to Pakistan in multiple dossiers. Now, under intense international pressure, Pakistan's Federal Investigation Agency, they carried out their own investigation. Pakistani journalists found out that Ajmal Amir Kasab hailed from a village in Pakistan. The identity of the other 9 terrorists who were killed, that was known. FIA investigations showed that Lashkar-e-Taiba had carried out 2 sets of training for these 10 Pakistani terrorists. Pakistan Navy in a place called Thatta in Sindh gave them training about handling boats that would bring them to India. Then the boat that was used, the Yamaha engine that was procured, India did painstaking investigation to find out that that Yamaha engine was actually sold by Japan to a company in Pakistan which was used by these. But the ISI actually painted the boat after it had dropped these terrorists. All of that intelligence and information and investigation was carried out and handed over to Pakistan, and yet Pakistan has taken no action against the perpetrators of 26/11. Not even the non-state actors, let alone the state actors of Pakistan's ISI who were involved in the training and Pakistan Navy. I also want to bring in Major General G.D. Bakshi into this conversation. General Bakshi, it's been 14 years. Pakistan hasn't punished the perpetrators, but it also shows the failure of an organization like the United Nations, and that is why the External Affairs Minister is spot on when he brings all the UN Security Council members to Mumbai to show them India's pain and India's resolve.
India's pain, Gaurav, is evident to the whole world. You have so painstakingly marshaled every bit of facts and evidence that is there. It is transparent as daylight as to who exactly has done this. 10 of the perpetrators, they were shut up, and it is just lucky that Omle paid with his life to catch one of them alive. Otherwise, they had all come with the Hindu sacred thread to pin it onto the Hindu majority here. And we had one of the terrorists captured alive, singing like a canary. Our courts have sentenced him to death based upon the evidence. American courts have sentenced David Headley. Right? The evidence is sufficient for the Indian courts, the American courts. But the Pakistani added insult to injury by saying that it was fiction. Fiction, can you beat that? So that country will not punish. At the end of the day, we will have to do what the Americans did.
Or what the Indians did at Balakot. You're absolutely right, sir. What the Americans have been doing with Osama bin Laden and what India did at Balakot, India will have to punish terrorists. But what about the United Nations as an organization, or countries like China that block sanctions against terrorists like Sajid Mir or that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar?
Absolutely. Gaurav, China has, one narrative for Xinjiang and another one for Jammu and Kashmir. They claim to be victims of terror in Xinjiang. Look at the way they have been helping Pakistan perpetrate terror. They have been in the United Nations floor of the UN Security Council trying to shield hardcore murderers, mass murderers and criminals. So, to expect justice with the present dispensation of the United Nations, the way it is structured, the way China can exercise the veto on behalf of Pakistan, its protege, and China has been encouraging Pakistan to carry on with the asymmetric war offensive. There were people in India who thought that now that Shahbaz Sharif, brother of Nawaz Sharif, is there in Pakistan, maybe we can hope for better relations. But just look at it. Just look at the way things have gone. They've gone further and further south. Every day drones are crossing our LC, drones are crossing our international border to drop Kalashnikovs, pistols, grenades, improvised IEDs, drugs, money.
Yes. In fact, General, you're spot on.
Terror in J&K and started in Punjab.
Absolutely.
We will have to hit back. Balakot, Puri, whatever you do.
Yes.
You come from the sea, you come from the air, you come from the land. You'll have to do what the Americans did to Osama.
Yes.
You'll have to do what the Americans did to Ayman al-Zawahiri. Short of that, I don't see redemption.
You're perhaps absolutely right, General, for joining me here on this India Today special. Many thanks, Nabila. As the General very rightly pointed out, and this is again one of the core issues of discussion at this special meet of United Nations Security Council, the access that terrorists and terror-sponsor countries have to unmanned aerial systems, unmanned combat aerial vehicles. That's a big threat that countries face. And once again, this meet will discuss ways and means to counter that threat. Terrorists have access to technology, as we've seen even during 26/11. We've heard audio of the handlers in Pakistan, in Karachi, directing the terrorists when they were at that Shawad house on how to, that they'd been taught how to put machine guns or how to, position machine guns in an X form to kill terror soldiers who are coming down to neutralize those terrorists. So those audio tapes are there. Pakistan refuses to give audio voice samples of Hafiz Saeed or Sajid Mir and other terrorists, and this shows Pakistan's state complicity in ensuring that perpetrators of terror are not punished, Nabila.
It's quite evident, Gaurav, that Pakistan has been complicit, and the world is watching, but somehow it appears that international communities or countries have been very hesitant on cracking down on Pakistan. One, what's been the response to the training that was given to the terrorists of 26/11? And two, why isn't the international community really coming down heavy on this country?
So there are multiple reasons for this. One, Pakistan is a rogue state with a nuclear weapon, and unlike India, the world gets scared. India didn't get scared, and that evidence was all too clear. The moment Pulwama terror attack happened, India launched fighter jets into Pakistan and bombed Balakot. So despite Pakistan having nuclear weapons, India, without war being declared, sent in fighter jets into an enemy country, not just across the LOC, but bombed across the international border. Now, that kind of resolve hasn't been seen in tackling Pakistan by the West. And it's surprising, for Joe Biden, for example, Donald Trump before that had taken a hard line on Pakistan. He'd stopped all military assistance to Pakistan. Donald Trump had said that $33 billion worth of assistance had been given to Pakistan, and Pakistan was still supporting terrorists and killing American soldiers in Afghanistan. Joe Biden, it is argued by several, especially Republicans, that his team comprises a lot of people of Pakistani origin, and that is why he's always had a soft spot towards Pakistan. So that explains, despite 9/11, despite Americans being killed by Pakistanis in Afghanistan, Joe Biden has adopted a soft line and got Pakistan out of FATF grey list. Again, 7/7 London bombing in 2005 traced back to Pakistan. The recent stabbings that have taken place in the UK traced back to Pakistan. But UK again, because of a large number of people of Pakistani origin living in the United Kingdom, also because the Pakistanis or people of Pakistani origin end up being a big vote bank, their political leadership has been soft on Pakistani state-sponsored terror. But it's only a matter of time before the world actually realizes. And China supports Pakistan directly because China wants to checkmate India through Pakistan, realizing that China on its own is facing the kind of problems it did in Ladakh when India did a QPQ operation and multiple other ways. So a strong India is not in China's interest. It uses Pakistan to counter us. Several Western countries, unfortunately, haven't woken up to Pakistan's reality that it is a state sponsor of terror, but sooner than later they will be compelled. As this radical Islamist terror spreads and it's sourced back to Pakistan, they will wake up to the threat that comes from Pakistan.
All right, I'm going to ask my producers if we can yet again play what Jai Shankars spoke at that UNSC anti-terror meet, specifically on 26/11 attacks. Listen in.
The key conspirators and planners of the 26/11 attacks continue to remain protected and unpunished. When it comes to proscribing some of these terrorists, the Security Council has regrettably been unable to act in some cases because of political considerations. This undermines our collective credibility and our collective interests. The coming together of the UNSC's Counter-Terrorism Committee to this venue is both special and significant. I thank all members of the Security Council and other member states who have joined us today in an expression of solidarity. Together, we should send out the message that the international community will never give up on holding terrorists accountable and delivering justice. 26/11 will never, ever be forgotten.
All right, here's some big news. On the same meet at the UNSC anti-terror meet, India has exposed Terroristan. India plays Sajid Mir's tape in the global meet. India has exposed the 26/11 plotter, Sajid Mir. In fact, this was a bid to say that the perpetrators of the 26/11 attacks are still free. Those who trained those 10 terrorists are still flourishing in the country of Pakistan. The perpetrators, and in fact, they haven't been brought to book. That task still remains unfinished. This is precisely the words of External Affairs Minister S. Jai Shankar as they played out the key conspirators, Sajid Mir's tape at the global meet. Let me cut across to Gaurav on that. Gaurav, to really substantiate what 26/11, how it happened and how this case hasn't been forgotten and the task to bring them to book still remains unfinished. Here's an audio of Sajid Mir that was played out at that global meet. But before I come to you, I'm going to cut across to that visual of what happened at that meet here.
Now I would like to apprise you with the intrigue surrounding Sajid Mir, one of the key perpetrators of Mumbai terror attacks. In this voice clip which you are going to hear, he can be heard directing the assailants at Sabad House.
तो जहाँ पे आपको मूवमेंट नजर आती है, बंदा जिस छत पे चल रहा है, कोई आ रहा है, जा रहा है, उसको फाइट ठोको. उसे नहीं पता यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है. इंशाल्लाह.
All right, so, that very chilling conversation where this Sajid Mir, the key conspirator there, speaking on how the attacks must be carried out. Let's take a quick listen yet again as this audio was played out at that UNSC anti-terror meet.
Now I would like to apprise you with the intrigue surrounding Sajid Mir, one of the key perpetrators of Mumbai terror attacks. In this voice clip which you are going to hear, he can be heard directing the assailants at Sabad House.
तो जहाँ पे आपको मूवमेंट नजर आती है, बंदा जिस छत पे चल रहा है, कोई आ रहा है, जा रहा है, उसको फाइट ठोको. उसे नहीं पता यहाँ पे क्या हो रहा है. इंशाल्लाह.
All right, let me cut across to Gaurav on that. Gaurav, India has played out Sajid Mir's tape in the global meet. I mean, this is, of course, to stress on the fact that Pakistan has been harboring terrorists, and this is a known fact globally. And this tape, this audio clipping of that attack of 26/11 attack that still leaves chills down our spine, even to think how that panned out and the number of people who died, their families who are still grieving. This audio really was played out to make a statement, to tell that this case is yet unfinished. Those perpetrators need to be brought to book.
Sajid Mir is a Pakistani terrorist who's being helped by China, blocking sanctions against him. Now, what was Sajid Mir's role? You heard that audio tape. Shabbat House, you remember that little baby Moshe? Little baby Moshe was at that Shabbat House, a little baby. When these Pakistani terrorists were firing, they killed his parents. They killed his parents in cold blood. They killed Jewish people at this Shabbat House in cold blood. And David Coleman Headley and Pakistanis had marked this Jewish safe house in a way, a place where Jewish pilgrims or tourists come and stay. Now, baby Moshe was in this house when these Pakistani terrorists were killing people in cold blood, including his parents. Now, that's when the Indian Air Force realized that, and the NSG commandos, that entering from the front of the building wasn't possible. So what the Indian Air Force did was sent in a Mi-17 helicopter, and these commandos, they rappelled down, NSG commandos rappelled down to the roof. And the Pakistani terrorists were shivering, they were scared. So they were on phone with their handlers in this Karachi safe house. And this conversation is the terrorists asking their handler, कि अब हम क्या करें? The Indians, the commandos are coming from the roof. So Sajid Mir tells them कि तुम डरो मत, तुम X form में machine gun लगाओ. What is the X form? That there is a cross section created. So if a commando comes down from the roof, you put a machine gun in X form and both sides you keep firing, the commando cannot come down, he'll be killed. So all this training was given to them by Pakistan Army. This is a military tactic of war which was taught to terrorists of Lashkar-e-Taiba by Pakistan Army at a training camp organized by Hafiz Mohammed Saeed. All this conversation is recorded. How those machine guns are supposed to be placed, how the firing is to be done, and that is exactly what these Pakistani terrorists did. And a number of commandos, unfortunately, were injured, but they went in, they rescued people. That little Moshe, that Israeli kid, that Jewish kid is now back in Israel and safe. Unfortunately, his parents and others were killed by these Pakistani terrorists at this place. And this audio clip is Sajid Mir directing the Pakistani terrorists. And the sad aspect is China blocks the sanction against Sajid Mir or that Maulana of terror, Masood Azhar, claiming there isn't enough evidence, despite a mountain of evidence now in public domain.
Right, this is precisely what S. Jai Shankar also highlighted there, that this attack on 26/11 attack was not just an attack on India or Mumbai, it was an attack on the international community. Like you just mentioned, there were multiple people of different races and countries who were present at those locations who were killed. And this seemed to have been a very strategic move by those key conspirators, the Lashkar-e-Taiba, as they were trained to target those areas which had people of different ethnicities. So this seems to be the real basis of which terrorism has played out in Pakistan, but no crackdown. The Pakistan government acts as if there is nothing festering on their ground.
Stay with me for a moment, Nabila. You're absolutely right, and it's a disgrace that Pakistan has taken no action against the perpetrators of 26/11 Mumbai terror attacks. I want to bring in Kamar Cheema. He's a respected Pakistani security analyst who joins us on the show.